Al Jazeera is being very aggressive in terms of being present in digital spaces at the moment. We see digital as the future of how people will be consuming content, and we've already seen younger audiences shifting completely to digital. There's a lot of research and analysis that suggests that 18 to 35s are not watching television in the traditional sense any longer. So we've realized that if we are not going to be engaging in the digital space, we will be losing younger audiences going forward. Well, I guess the first step was actually to take whatever we do for broadcast and then actually make that available online. So that was a very basic step that needed to take, and we actually started with that some years back. We were probably one of the first news organizations to be on platforms like YouTube, on Twitter. I think we were actually the first platform to be available live on YouTube almost 4 years ago. So that was the first step. The second step that we've now started to engage in during this year was the space where people consume content on digital platforms in a different way that they would have consumed it on a traditional television 4 or 5 years ago. So what we've understood now is that we need to actually start producing content differently for these different platforms. We've launched a product called Al Jazeera Plus about 2 weeks ago in San Francisco, which actually looks at that specifically. So all content produced through the Al Jazeera Plus brand will be produced specifically for the online space completely. While the Al Jazeera Media Network still remains a television channel, we will still be engaging within more traditional ways on the digital spaces. There's a number of challenges when we go digital. The first challenge would obviously be the technology challenge, because there's a whole new way of distributing your content. Traditional television was focused on broadcasting to a playout center, and now we have to have these multiple digital formats. Each platform has its own requirements, so if we're delivering to Apple, to the iTunes store, we need to provide them with video in a specific format. If we're providing video to Amazon Video, it's in a different format. If we're providing video to YouTube, it's in a different format. So every platform seems to have their own requirement. There isn't a standard that has been accepted now in terms of digital video across the industry. So it makes our delivery a little bit tricky. So that's the first challenge. The second challenge would be in terms of the way content is produced. Digital content platforms, people on digital content platforms are producing or consuming content in vastly different ways. I think a lot of people are still producing content for television, and as a result what we find is that if we place a video that we've broadcast on television on YouTube, and we then compare that to a video that's been tailor-made for the YouTube platform, telling exactly the same story but in a different way with different production values, the one that's made for YouTube actually delivers a lot more views, engagement, time spent watching the video. So that's the second challenge that we face, is how do we start actually producing content for these new digital platforms that exist. Broadcasters should be thinking of themselves not as broadcasters any longer, but as content producers for multiple formats. So television will remain a very important part of people's video experience for some time to come. There's a lot of talk about the death of TV, but all research indicates that TV is still very relevant. People are still watching content on the big screen. The delivery platforms may change, and we need to just be aware of that, and we need to be adjusting the way that we operate in order to cater for that. So the idea of being a television broadcaster or being a mobile first operator is not really the question that we should be looking at as content producers. We should be answering the question that we should be answering is, how do we produce content for multiple platforms so that we can engage with people in the best way on that particular platform.
And the really interesting thing that's happening this time around at Mipcom is that we're meeting with producers and they're saying, here's a show we're thinking about developing, here's a show we're going to bring to market, can we build Twitter into it right now? I think